They thought surrender would save them. They were wrong. As the guns fell silent, a new nightmare began. Welcome to Forgotten History Tales. Join me as we step into the forgotten world of those left behind, prisoners of a peace that never came. The night falls heavy on the landscape, swallowing the remnants of daylight, leaving only the ghosts of the war behind. The prisoners, huddled under a sky that offers no comfort, are left to their thoughts. What hope remains when you know the very ground beneath your feet was once soaked with the blood of your comrades? The cold is biting, gnawing at their bones, but it's not just the physical chill that hurts. It's the ache in their hearts, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. I move deeper into the camp, stepping carefully around the mud that clings to the soles of my boots, its dark color reflecting the souls of those trapped here. The air smells of decay, of burnt flesh and broken promises. The cries of men who no longer know if they are alive or dead echo in the distance. But among them, there is one man who stands apart. His face is gaunt, his eyes hollow from hunger and sleep deprivation. Yet there's something in the way he carries himself that speaks of defiance, of a will that refuses to break. He doesn't speak much, but when he does, it's with the authority of someone who has seen the worst and refused to surrender to it. His name is Heinrich, and he was once a soldier in the German army. Now, he is just another prisoner, another number. Yet there is something in the way he watches the others that sets him apart. He moves between the rows of men, offering a word of encouragement here, a piece of bread there, keeping the hope alive even when it seems like the last ember is about to extinguish. I feel the weight of his gaze on me as he approaches, his face a mixture of war weariness and quiet resolve. "You're new," he says softly, his voice hoarse, barely above a whisper. "You shouldn't be here. There's nothing left for us now." His words, though spoken with an eerie calmness, hold the weight of years spent in the hell of captivity. And yet, there is no bitterness in his tone, only a resignation that comes with surviving something that should have killed you. His eyes, dark and searching, study mine, as if trying to understand who I am, what I am doing in this place. "There's nothing left, is there?" he repeats, almost to himself. "No," I say, unable to offer any better answer. "But there must be something." He nods, slowly, his gaze distant, as though he's already left this place in his mind. He tells me about the others, the ones who had given up, the ones who couldn't survive the hunger, the cold, the beatings. Some had gone mad, he says. Some had taken their own lives. The worst, he claims, are the ones who wait. They wait for an end, but the end never comes. "What do they expect?" he asks. "For someone to come and save them?" His bitter laugh echoes in the night, and I know then that he has come to understand the truth. Survival is no longer about hope. It's about waiting for the inevitable, enduring the pain until the world can no longer contain you. There is a heavy silence between us, broken only by the distant sound of guards' boots, the clinking of rifles, the cold, oppressive weight of a night that will not end. The men around us are whispering to each other now, some reciting old prayers, others clinging to memories of happier times, but there is no warmth in their voices, no conviction in their words. In the distance, the faint glow of fires flickers. The flames are small, weak things, struggling against the encroaching darkness. They are like the men here, fighting to stay alight, but knowing that they are close to being snuffed out. Heinrich watches the fires too, his eyes narrowing as if trying to read something in their flicker. They tell us we're free now, he murmurs. But what does that mean when you're trapped in a cage of your own making? His words hang in the air, heavy with the realization that freedom, for men like him, is a distant and fading dream. What is freedom when your body is free, but your soul remains shackled by the memories of war? I wonder if he knows how much he is like those who have come before him, those who thought that surrender would bring them peace, only to find that their torment had only just begun. I glance around the camp, watching the prisoners move in slow, measured steps. Their faces are hollow, eyes glazed with exhaustion and hunger. There is no escape here, not from the physical pain, nor from the deeper wounds that war leaves behind. This is a place where the body may heal, but the spirit will forever be scarred. Heinrich turns away from the fire, his expression unreadable. Some of us have forgotten what it's like to be human, he says, almost to himself, and some of us will never remember. As I follow him through the camp, I hear the rattling of chains, the faint cries of the broken men in the distance. I feel the weight of their suffering, but it is the emptiness in their eyes, the haunting, unspoken realization that they will never be the same, that stays with me. In the far corner of the camp, a new group of prisoners has arrived. Their faces are blank, their shoulders heavy with the burden of what they have just left behind. They are brought in shackled, their eyes searching for hope, yet finding none. I feel the presence of these new arrivals, their fear palpable in the cold night air, and as they are herded into their new existence, I wonder, what will become of them? Will they too surrender their souls to the unforgiving grip of war? Or will they fight? If only for the chance to remember what it feels like to live, even for just a moment. I pause for a second, staring into the distance. I hear a faint cry in the night, a sound of pain, of fear. It's far away, but it feels like it's right beside me. Tomorrow, I'll follow the trail of the broken men, the ones who still have some semblance of a fight left in them, and I'll tell you what happens when hope fades and all that's left is survival. But for tonight, the silence is my only companion. And in that silence, I hear the ghosts of the past, still haunting the forgotten prisoners. The morning light, weak and gray, does little to illuminate the desolate landscape. The prisoners are awake before the sun, their bodies stiff from the cold, their minds numb with the exhaustion of sleepless nights spent shivering under the open sky. The air is thick with the smell of wet earth, human sweat, and the acrid tang of burnt remnants from the night before. The faint sound of boots crunching on frozen ground fills the air, a grim prelude to the day ahead. I watch as the guards move through the camp, their faces hard and unreadable, like statues made of stone. They don't speak much, only bark orders in gruff voices, the language of control, of power. These men know the value of their silence. They are not here to communicate with the prisoners. They are here to dominate, to remind those in their charge that they have no say, no power. The prisoners line up, their heads bowed, their eyes cast downward. There is no pride in their stance, no honor left in the soldiers who once marched proudly across Europe. Now they stand like ghosts, haunted by the ghosts of their past actions, their futures uncertain, their bodies broken by the weight of captivity. I can hear the low murmur of their voices as they whisper to each other. There are no comforting words anymore, only shared suffering, shared pain. They are brothers not by choice, but by the desperate circumstance that binds them together. They know that together, they may have a chance at survival, but they also know that their survival is an uncertain thing, a fleeting dream that can be extinguished with a single wrong move. Heinrich is among them, his face gaunt, his steps slow but deliberate. He walks as though he has already accepted the path that lies ahead, a path that stretches out before him like a never-ending road into the unknown. The others follow him, their faces marked with the same resignation, the same quiet understanding that their lives are now in the hands of those who see them as nothing more than tools to be used, broken, and discarded. They begin their march, their movements stiff and mechanical, like the soldiers they once were, but with none of the purpose. It's not a march to victory. It's a march to a fate none of them can predict. The guards push them forward, barking orders, herding them like cattle. There is no respect in the way they move, no sense of the humanity that once existed in these men. They are simply things to be moved, objects in a game of power that they have no part in. I walk alongside them, keeping my distance, but unable to shake the feeling that I'm somehow complicit in their suffering. The air is bitterly cold, the wind biting through my jacket, but it's nothing compared to the cold that grips the hearts of these men. It's a cold that comes from the realization that they may never leave this place, that their lives may be reduced to nothing more than a series of empty days marked only by the cruelty of their captors. As we march, the landscape around us becomes more desolate. The buildings grow more sparse, the streets narrower, until there is nothing but open fields and the ruins of a broken world. The earth seems to stretch endlessly before us, a barren wasteland that mirrors the emptiness in their hearts. I can almost feel the weight of their thoughts, the unspoken questions that linger in their minds. How long will this last? What will happen to them when they reach the end of this road? There is no answer to those questions. Not yet. We march for hours. The only sounds the shuffle of feet and the occasional crack of a whip from the guards. The landscape is a blur of gray, the sky a dull canvas, and the road beneath our feet seems to stretch on endlessly. The prisoners, their faces hollow from fatigue, keep their heads low, as though they are afraid to look up, afraid to see what lies ahead. Some of the men are stumbling, their feet dragging, but they keep moving, driven by nothing more than the basic instinct to survive. They don't speak, not unless forced to. There are no words of defiance, no cries for freedom, just silence, silent men, silent suffering. I notice Heinrich at the front of the group, still walking with purpose, though his body seems to be betraying him. His face is pale, his steps faltering, but he does not stop. He is a man who has already come to terms with the fact that survival, for him, is no longer a goal. It is a slow, endless endurance, a march not toward a destination, but away from everything he once knew. His eyes are fixed on the horizon, as if seeking something in the distance that can never be found. The hours drag on, and the sun climbs higher in the sky, but it does little to warm the frozen earth beneath our feet. The guards don't stop, don't offer a moment's reprieve. They are unrelenting, and the prisoners, those who can still walk, are forced to keep moving. Some collapse from exhaustion, but they are quickly dragged back to their feet and pushed forward again. In the distance, a dark figure looms ahead, a structure, a camp perhaps. The men quicken their pace, if only out of fear of what lies inside. It is hard to tell what's worse, the endless march or the uncertainty of what awaits them at the end of it. Some of the prisoners have begun to speak again, but their words are barely audible, little more than mumbled prayers to gods long forgotten. Finally, After what seems like an eternity, we arrive at the camp. It is a sprawling place, surrounded by barbed wire, its watchtowers standing like silent sentinels over the men who have just been brought here. The guards move swiftly, barking orders as the prisoners are herded into the camp. There is no ceremony, no formality, just the cold, hard reality of what they've become. I watch as Heinrich and the others are pushed into a makeshift barracks, their bodies already giving out, their faces drawn with the weight of everything they have endured. The door slams behind them, and the camp falls into an eerie silence. The journey is over for now, but their fate is far from sealed. I stand there for a long moment, staring at the barbed wire, at the shadows that now hang over this place. What will happen to them in this new prison? Will it be better than the last? Or will the suffering continue? And then I hear it, a soft whisper in the wind, a faint voice calling from the darkness. It's Heinrich's voice, barely audible, but I catch it nonetheless. They think they've won, he says, but this is just the beginning. And as I turn to leave, I realize the truth in his words. The march may be over, but their battle, their real battle, is only just beginning. The camp is everything I feared it would be, a place where time moves in an endless, agonizing loop. The walls, weathered and decaying, seem to groan under the weight of the men they contain. The stench of sweat, mud, and despair hangs thick in the air, suffocating the hopes of anyone who dares to breathe it in. The barbed wire stretches endlessly, a physical reminder that escape is nothing more than a distant fantasy for these prisoners. I watch them as they are forced into their new lives, each man carrying a silent burden, some born from the past, others from the present. They are not so much alive anymore as they are shadows of the men they once were. Each footstep they take echoes with the sound of broken dreams. Heinrich is among them, as he always is. He walks with the same quiet defiance, his face etched with the kind of fatigue that goes beyond the body. It's in his eyes now, too, the hopeless, burning gaze of a man who has seen the very worst the world has to offer and who has somehow survived. But for what? I follow him, unable to tear my eyes away from the way he carries himself, the quiet strength that still clings to his weary shoulders. He's not the same man who first spoke to me in the camp. There is something more resigned in him now, a part of him that has already left this place in spirit, though his body still remains. The barracks they are herded into are no better than the ones they left behind. They are cramped, dark, and filthy, with barely enough room for the prisoners to stretch their legs. The floors are cold, damp with the sweat of countless bodies packed together in the unbearable heat of their shared suffering. The walls are thin, and the sounds of men coughing, whispering, and crying are ever present, as though the very walls of the place are suffocating them. Heinrich sinks to the floor in the far corner, his back pressed against the cold concrete, his legs outstretched, hands resting on his knees. I can see the exhaustion in him, the physical toll of the march, the mental weight of captivity, and yet there is something else that gnaws at him, a deeper, more dangerous kind of hunger. The days stretch into one another, indistinguishable except for the slowly diminishing number of men who are still able to stand. The food rations are sparse, and the guards are ever watchful, their eyes never leaving the prisoners for more than a moment. In the mornings, the men are marched out to the work camps, to dig, to build, to break their bodies for the benefit of their captors. There is no reason behind the labor, no logic to it, just the endless need to remind the prisoners of their inferiority, to keep them broken. Heinrich rarely speaks, but I see him watching the others. The weaker men, those who can no longer keep up, are either left behind or put out of their misery by the indifferent guards. The survivors march on, only to face the same fate tomorrow. At night, when the camp falls into an uneasy silence, there is a flicker of hope that dances in the hearts of some. Hope, though, is a dangerous thing in this place. It is a fleeting, fragile thing that can break just as easily as it arises. The men share whispered rumors of a new escape plan, a secret way out that only a few know about. But the plan never seems to materialize, and as the days go on, the hope that once burned bright in their eyes begins to fade. I catch a glimpse of Heinrich one evening, sitting alone by the corner of the barracks, his gaze fixed on the faint light of a distant campfire. His hands, calloused and rough from years of war and captivity, are clasped together, and his jaw is set in a way that tells me he is no longer just waiting for the inevitable. He is planning something more than just survival. "What's the point, Heinrich?" I ask him, stepping into his line of sight. My voice is low, barely above a whisper, so as not to attract the attention of the guards. But it doesn't matter. Heinrich isn't startled. He doesn't even look up when he speaks. "The point is, I'm not dead yet," he says, his voice flat but resolute. "And neither are they." He gestures to the men around him, who are drifting off to sleep, their bodies piled on the cold floor like discarded rag dolls. I wait for him to say more, to explain the quiet fire that burns behind his eyes. But he doesn't. His words hang in the air, unanswered. What is it that keeps him going? What drives a man who has seen so much, endured so much, to hold on to life when every aspect of his world is trying to crush him? "Do you think there's still hope?" I ask, my voice betraying a tinge of uncertainty. Heinrich finally looks up at me, his eyes narrowed as if weighing the question itself. Then he shrugs, a motion so small it's almost imperceptible. "Hope is a lie," he says, "but so is despair. You can't survive without one." His words sink in, and I feel their weight pressing down on me, like the cold metal of the shackles that still bind us all, prisoners of war, prisoners of circumstance. He's right, I think. Hope may be a lie, but it is also the only thing that keeps these men moving, keeps them surviving. Without it, they would all crumble under the weight of their despair. As the days turn to weeks, I notice the shift in Heinrich. He becomes more withdrawn, more intense. He speaks less, his eyes more often fixed on something distant, something beyond the fences, beyond the guards, beyond the despair that has taken root in this place. His resolve is hardening, becoming something darker, something that feels like it is about to break through the surface. And then, one night, the unthinkable happens. A sound breaks through the quiet of the barracks, a loud, sharp crack, followed by the unmistakable clang of metal against stone. A voice shouts in the distance, urgent and filled with panic. I turn toward Heinrich, whose eyes are wide with sudden realization. "Now," he says, standing quickly. "It's now or never." I'm about to ask him what he means, but he's already moving, already pushing through the crowded barracks toward the door. The others are waking now, their faces filled with confusion and fear. But Heinrich doesn't hesitate. He's already part of the darkness outside, the sound of his footsteps swallowed by the night. I stand frozen, the weight of his words settling in my chest. And then, in a breathless rush, I realize the truth. The escape, the one they'd all whispered about, wasn't just a rumor anymore. It's real. But will it work? Or will the chains that bind them all be too strong to break? And as I follow Heinrich into the dark, uncertain night, I know that everything will change from this moment forward. The question is, will they be free, or will they fall into something darker than the prison they've already known? The night is thick with tension, a velvet cloak that wraps around us as we move through the shadows. The air, once filled with the oppressive weight of hopelessness, now crackles with a quiet kind of electricity. For the first time since I've arrived in this camp, there is movement, real movement, something more than the endless shuffle of tired feet. The prisoners, once trapped by their own survival instincts, are moving with purpose, driven by the promise of something greater than what they've been given. I follow Heinrich through the labyrinth of narrow alleyways between the barracks, my footsteps echoing too loudly in the silence. My breath comes in sharp, shallow bursts, and I wonder if the guards will hear us, wonder if this fragile plan of escape will dissolve in the blink of an eye. But Heinrich keeps moving, his form a shadow in the darkness, his steps sure despite the danger. "We're not out yet," Heinrich whispers, his voice low and urgent, not by a long shot. His words are meant to ground me, to remind me that the escape, if it even is one, has only just begun. It's not the moment of freedom that matters, he tells me. It's the getting there, the journey, not the destination. And right now, the road ahead is as fraught with peril as the life they left behind in the camp. As we push forward, I can see the faint glow of the camp's lights receding behind us. The guards are unaware, at least for now, of the prisoners slipping through their fingers. But that won't last. They won't stay asleep for long. We stop for a moment, crouching low against the cold, damp ground. The sound of boots pounding on the dirt road somewhere in the distance sends a shiver down my spine. A patrol is making its rounds, but it's too far to catch us just yet. My heart is pounding, and I can feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins, making everything sharper, every sound, every motion, every breath. Heinrich doesn't look at me. He doesn't need to. We are both too aware of the fragile thread that holds us to this fleeting hope. He's been through this before, I know. He's survived because he understands one thing above all. Fear is a luxury. When it comes down to it, it's not fear that keeps you alive. It's the will to survive, the strength to push forward when everything inside you tells you to stop. We move quickly, though cautiously. The others are with us now, a group of ragged men whose faces are half hidden in the darkness. They don't speak, but their eyes are all the same. They are men who have lived with the ghosts of their past, and now, in the quiet of the night, they are running from those ghosts. But can you truly escape the past? Or is it forever chasing you, always at your heels? The road is treacherous, the ground uneven and filled with obstacles. The men stumble, but they don't fall. There's no time to fall. There's no time to look back. I see them all. Heinrich, the men who followed him, the ones who still cling to that fragile hope. And I know something has shifted in them. They are not the same men who marched into this camp. They are different now. Changed. We make our way through the woods at the edge of the camp, the trees offering little shelter from the bitter night air. The moon is barely a sliver in the sky, casting a faint, ghostly light over the landscape. It's a stark contrast to the darkness that surrounds us, and for a moment, I feel a pang of unease. There is something wrong about this freedom, this flight into the unknown. We stop again, and Heinrich motions for everyone to keep low. The sound of distant voices reaches us, the crackle of static from the guards' radios, the unmistakable shuffle of boots moving in the same direction. They're closing in. The escape has been discovered, and the clock is ticking. I turn to Heinrich, my heart racing. He meets my gaze with an expression that's unreadable, as though he's already accepted whatever comes next. Is this it? I ask, my voice barely audible over the rush of blood in my ears. Are we going to make it? Heinrich pauses for a moment, and when he speaks, his voice is steady, almost detached. We're already past the point of no return. I nod, but the fear still clings to me, an icy weight in my chest. The escape, the act of running, has always been the dream. But now that we're in it, the reality is far less clear. What will happen if we're caught? What will the guards do? What will the world do to men like us, the ones who have slipped through the cracks, the ones who were never meant to escape? I don't have the answers. I just know that I can't stop now. I can't turn back. We push forward, moving deeper into the woods, the sound of pursuit growing louder with every passing second. The trees blur past us, the cold air burning in my lungs, and yet I can feel the presence of something even colder than the night itself. The fear of what lies ahead. This is no longer a fight for survival. It's a fight for freedom. And that is a battle no man can win alone. I glance at the men around me. Some are older, their faces creased with the weight of years lived in captivity. Others younger, with the hopeful gleam of men who have not yet lost everything. And in this fleeting moment, I realize something I hadn't before. There is no such thing as an individual when you're on the run. We are all in this together, bound by the same hope, the same fear. It's the only thing that makes us human now. Heinrich, always the leader, always the one to push forward, stops abruptly, his hand raised. We freeze in place, silent, still as the night itself. There's a faint light ahead, another camp, a checkpoint. The soldiers are close, too close. For a moment, I think this is it. The end of the road, the end of our story. The sound of boots grows louder, the voices sharper, but Heinrich moves before I can think. He gestures for us to move quickly, quietly. The trees ahead offer some cover, but not much. We have no choice but to go through it, to risk everything on this final sprint. As I move, the darkness presses in, and I feel the weight of everything that has led us here. The road to freedom is not a straight one. It's a winding, treacherous path filled with obstacles, with fear, with choices that may very well destroy us. But Heinrich's words ring in my ears. We're already past the point of no return. And I realize, as I sprint toward the trees, that there's no going back now. There's only forward, into the unknown, into whatever awaits us in the shadows. But as I glance back, I swear I see something, just for a moment. A figure standing at the edge of the camp, watching us with quiet eyes. A guard? Or something worse? And then, the trees close in, and I can no longer see anything but the path ahead. The woods stretch endlessly before us, a labyrinth of shadows and fading moonlight. My legs burn, muscles protesting against the sudden strain, but there's no time to stop. The sharp sting of branches whipping past my face is the least of my concerns. What matters now is the sound of our breathing, ragged and desperate, and the thudding of my heart in my chest, echoing in my ears. We've crossed the first checkpoint. We've outrun the guards for now, but I know that this fleeting moment of freedom could be shattered in an instant. The night feels too quiet now, too still, as if the world is holding its breath, waiting to see if we can truly escape this place. Heinrich leads the way, his form a shadow in the dark. I follow closely, trying not to make a sound. Behind me, the others are scattered, some struggling to keep up, their movements stiff and weary. It's only a matter of time before they break, I think. But then I look at Heinrich, look at the fire still burning in his eyes, and I know that we can't afford to slow down. Not now. For all the talk of escape, for all the hope that surged through us when we slipped out of the camp, the truth is becoming clearer with each step. The guards aren't the only danger here. The woods themselves seem to be alive, full of threats we can't anticipate, hidden traps, terrain we can't navigate, the ever-looming shadow of pursuit. And then, there's the hunger. I feel it in my gut, gnawing away at me, an insidious hunger that is no longer just about food. It's about survival, about the gnawing emptiness of a life lived in captivity and fear. The hunger for freedom is greater than the hunger for food, and yet the body's needs remain relentless. We need to keep moving, Heinrich whispers as we push through a dense thicket. We're not safe yet. His voice is low, but it cuts through the silence like a knife. There's no argument, no hesitation. We keep moving. Our footsteps leave no trace in the damp earth, but the sound of our breathing seems deafening in the stillness of the night. Each crack of a twig, each rustle of leaves feels like a shout into the darkness, a signal that we are still here, still alive. The others are beginning to falter now. Some have collapsed onto the ground, too exhausted to go on. Others sit silently, their faces drawn with pain, their eyes distant and hollow. The reality is beginning to sink in. The escape is not a victory. It is an exhausting, brutal test of endurance, and not everyone will make it. I stop for a moment, breathing heavily, and I look around. The camp is behind us, but so is everything that we once knew. We are no longer soldiers, no longer prisoners. We are something in between, fugitives in the wilderness, running not just from the camp, but from everything we have ever known. We can't rest yet, Heinrich says again, more firmly this time. Not until we're far away from them. We can't afford to be caught. Not now. His words are like a cold slap to the face. The truth hits me hard. We're not free. Not really. Not yet. The guards won't stop until they've found every last one of us. They won't stop until we're all back under their control, in shackles once more. I push myself forward, my body protesting every movement, but my mind clear. I have to keep going. We have to keep going. The others follow, albeit slower now, their faces a mixture of fear, desperation, and determination. The woods are thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, but the air is starting to change. It's colder now, and the frost that clings to the leaves feels like a reminder that time is running out. Eventually, we come to a clearing. The moon is hidden behind a thick veil of clouds, and the darkness presses down around us. We stop for a moment, and I hear the sound of soft breathing, the shuffling of feet, the rustling of clothing. It's almost impossible to tell who's who in the dark, but I know they're all here. The men who survived the camp, the ones who have endured so much and yet somehow made it this far. But even in this fleeting moment of relative peace, I can feel the weight of what's coming. We've escaped the prison, but we're not free. The world out here is just as unforgiving. There are no safe havens, no sanctuary. We are still marked by the war, by the choices we made, by the things we've done. And the thing about freedom is, it's never truly free. It comes at a cost. The men are talking now, their voices low and strained. They're asking questions, murmuring among themselves. "Where do we go from here?" one of them asks. "We keep moving," Heinrich answers, his voice cutting through the murmurs. We don't stop. Not until we're out of their reach. Another man, younger, his face pale and gaunt from hunger, looks up at Heinrich. And if we can't make it? What if we're caught? Heinrich doesn't look at him. He doesn't have to. Then we die. The words hang in the air, heavy and cold. No one speaks after that. The gravity of what we're up against settles in like the darkness around us. There are no guarantees, no promises, only survival. And for some, survival may mean something more than just living. It may mean the very thing that has driven them this far. Freedom, no matter the cost. I can see it in Heinrich's eyes now. He's not just running from the guards. He's running from the ghosts of the past, from everything he's lost. And I think, for the first time, he's running from the man he once was, the soldier who surrendered, the man who raised his hands in defeat. But the truth is, freedom isn't about escaping the past. It's about facing it, even when the road ahead seems impossible. And as I stand in that dark clearing, surrounded by men who are all struggling to make sense of this journey, I realize something else. This is not just about survival. It's about redemption. It's about proving that no matter what the world throws at us, we can rise again. But the night is still young, and the road ahead is as uncertain as the ghosts that trail behind us. And as the first light of dawn begins to break, I hear it, a distant sound, the unmistakable crunch of boots on the earth. The chase is not over. And so we begin to run once more. The horizon is slowly shifting, a soft gradient of pale pink and gray spreading across the sky. But it's not enough to lighten the heaviness in my chest. We are running again, our bodies weary but driven by something stronger now, something more primal than fear, the desperate need to live, to keep pushing forward, to make it to whatever lies beyond this nightmarish stretch of forest. I can hear them behind us, the soldiers, their boots pounding the earth like a drumbeat signaling the end of this desperate escape. The sound is steady, relentless, and it feeds the fire inside me, urging me to run faster, to keep moving. The others are with us, though some lag behind, their breath shallow and ragged from exhaustion. We are running on nothing more than the will to survive, and that fragile hope we've all clung to for so long. Heinrich is still leading us, though even he is showing signs of strain. The man who once walked with the unwavering resolve of a soldier is faltering, his steps slower, his breath harsher. I can see it in his eyes. He's pushing himself to the breaking point, but he knows as well as I do that we don't have much time left. The night is no longer our ally. The darkness, once thick and comforting, now feels like a shroud, swallowing us up, hiding the dangers that lie ahead. We're vulnerable, and in this moment, I wonder if the pursuit is just the beginning of a new chapter, one that ends in the cold, unforgiving grip of death. But still, we push forward, never looking back. The trees blur around us, the earth beneath our feet, an unforgiving mix of frozen ground and thick roots that trip us at every turn. We are running in a world that has turned its back on us, a world where the promise of freedom is nothing more than a mirage. Keep going. Heinrich's voice cuts through the air, hoarse and urgent. Don't stop no matter what. His words are a lifeline, pulling me from the darkness creeping into my mind. I nod, though I know he can't see it, and I push my legs harder, my lungs burning with the effort. The men behind me are struggling too, but none of them falter. We are all in this together, bound by the same invisible thread, an unspoken pact that has brought us this far. And then, just as I think I can't go any further, we reach the edge of the woods. The trees thin out, and ahead of us lies a vast, open field, a place where there is no cover, no shelter, just open space stretching out toward the horizon, a flat, unforgiving wasteland that seems to mock our attempts at escape. The moon is barely visible now, obscured by clouds, but I can see the faint outline of something in the distance. A building. A structure that stands alone in the dark. Is it a safe haven? Or is it a trap? For a brief moment, I freeze. The world around me feels too still, too quiet. The sound of the soldiers' pursuit has faded, but I know they are still out there, getting closer. We don't have time to second-guess ourselves. The field is our only option. "Move!" Heinrich barks, his voice a harsh whisper. There's no time to hesitate, no time to think. We break from the trees and sprint across the open field, the wind now at our backs, pushing us forward like a cruel reminder that we're still alive. But that reminder feels hollow, like a breath taken too deep. Every step is an effort, every movement a weight on my shoulders. But I can't stop now. I can't turn back. The field seems endless, the distance between us and the distant structure growing longer with each passing second. But there's something strange about it. The building in the distance doesn't seem to get any closer. It's as if the field itself is stretching, as if the earth is trying to pull us back into its depths, to drag us down to where we started. "Don't stop!" Heinrich calls again, his voice filled with urgency. "Keep running." We run faster, but the building ahead still seems out of reach. The sky above us is dark, thick with clouds, and the wind howls like a warning, tearing through the field, carrying with it the scent of rain. My heart pounds in my chest, the rhythm of it pounding in my ears, drowning out everything else. We're almost there. I can feel the ground shifting beneath me, my legs growing weaker, but I don't dare stop. I can see the others pushing forward too, though their faces are drawn with exhaustion. Some of them are limping, but none of them falter. We are all in this together, moving towards something we can't yet understand. And then we reach the edge of the field, and the building is no longer a distant dream. It's a cold, looming presence that stands in front of us, its silhouette framed by the pale light of the moon. It's an abandoned house, a structure that looks as though it has been untouched for years. The windows are shattered, the door hanging off its hinges as if it, too, has been forgotten by the world. For a moment, we stop, standing just outside the threshold, looking at the place that may hold the answers we've been searching for. It's a place of shelter, of safety, but it's also a place that holds something darker, a shadow of the past that we cannot escape. "Is this it?" someone asks, their voice filled with hope and doubt all at once. Heinrich doesn't answer immediately. He just steps forward, his eyes scanning the darkness around us. "It has to be," he says, his voice almost too calm. "We don't have a choice." We enter the house cautiously, one by one, slipping through the broken door. The air inside is thick with dust, the remnants of a forgotten time hanging in the silence. The walls are lined with peeling wallpaper. The floor creaks under our weight, but it's a shelter, a place to rest, to regroup, to figure out what comes next. But as I stand in the doorway, I can't shake the feeling that we've made a terrible mistake. The house is empty, but the emptiness feels wrong, as though something is waiting for us here. The silence is too deep, too full of secrets. And then, as I turn to face the others, I hear it. The unmistakable sound of footsteps, the crackling of branches underfoot. The soldiers are closing in again. We are not alone, and I know with cold certainty that we've just walked into the heart of the storm. The door slams shut behind us with an echo that seems to reverberate through the very walls of the house. It's not just the sound of wood against wood, it's the sound of finality. I stand still for a moment, my hand still resting on the handle, listening to the eerie quiet that has descended on the room. The house is oppressive in its silence, the air thick with the dust of years long past. Every creak of the floor beneath my feet feels like a shout, betraying our presence in this forsaken place. Heinrich stands near the center of the room, his back straight, despite the weariness that clings to him like a second skin. He is watching the others, his eyes scanning them with the same intensity he's always had, the same sharp calculation that has kept him alive for this long. But even he can't hide the flicker of doubt that passes through his gaze as he takes in the dilapidated house, the broken windows, the shattered furniture, all speaking of a past long forgotten. "Keep your guard up," Heinrich mutters, his voice low but commanding. He doesn't need to say more. The tension in the room is palpable, every man aware of what's at stake. This place might be our temporary refuge, but there's no comfort in it, not now. I move through the house, my footsteps muffled against the thick layer of dust that covers the floor. The windows are too far gone to offer any protection, the broken panes creating jagged gaps that let in the night air. The darkness outside is closing in, and I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, an unsettling sensation that seems to grow stronger with each passing second. "Where are we going next?" one of the men asks, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. It's the young man, the one who had questioned Heinrich earlier. His eyes are wide, scanning the empty room, searching for something to hold on to. Heinrich doesn't answer right away. He's still looking out the broken window, his posture rigid. "We don't have a choice," he finally says, his voice hard. "We'll rest here for a while, but we can't stay long. The soldiers are still looking for us, and we don't know what's out there." There's a sharp intake of breath from one of the men behind me, and I turn just in time to see his eyes narrow in suspicion. Something about the way Heinrich speaks, the cold certainty in his tone, doesn't sit right with him, or with me, for that matter. There's something off, something in the way Heinrich has been acting ever since we entered this place. A flicker of something darker, something I can't quite place. I glance at Heinrich again, this time watching him more closely. His jaw is clenched, his brow furrowed, but it's the look in his eyes that sends a cold shiver down my spine. It's not fear, it's something else, something dangerous. The way he's holding himself, as if he knows something we don't. "Are you sure about this?" I ask quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. "About the escape? About what's waiting for us?" For a moment, he doesn't answer, his gaze flicking briefly to mine before shifting back to the broken window. The silence stretches between us, thick and suffocating, until at last, he speaks, his words so soft I almost don't hear them. "I didn't bring you here for refuge," he says, his voice low, his tone almost calculating. "I brought you here because this is the end." I freeze, my heart stopping for a beat. The others are still moving, but I can hear the sharp intake of breath from one of them. The realization is dawning on all of us. I step closer, my pulse quickening. "What are you talking about? You promised us freedom. We're escaping, Heinrich. This was supposed to be our chance." Heinrich turns to face me then, his expression cold, unreadable. There is no trace of the man I once knew, the soldier who had led us out of the camp, the man who had fought to keep us alive through the darkest moments. That man is gone. I never promised you freedom, he says, his voice flat, almost devoid of emotion. I promised you a way out from the guards, from everything you think you know. His words hang in the air like a weight, sinking into the depths of my stomach, churning with confusion and disbelief. You knew this was a trap? I ask, my voice rising with a mix of anger and realization. You've been leading us here, knowing what would happen? Heinrich doesn't flinch. It wasn't my plan, but it's the only way my blood runs cold as the meaning of his words begins to sink in. The building, I say, a bitter edge to my voice. The house. It's a trap. You knew they'd be waiting for us here. Heinrich nods, his eyes narrowing. You were never meant to survive this. The room falls into an unnatural silence. The weight of his betrayal crashes over me, suffocating me in disbelief. I stagger back, my mind racing to process what he's just said. The escape, the freedom, the hope we had all held onto so desperately. None of it was real. It was a lie. A cruel, cold lie. One of the men speaks then, his voice trembling with fury. You led us here. To die? Heinrich doesn't answer, his eyes cold, almost detached. It's as if he's already accepted what's coming. His gaze shifts briefly to the door, where the distant sound of footsteps can be heard, growing louder with each passing second. We've made our choices, Heinrich says finally, his voice almost resigned. And now, we face the consequences. I turn to the others, my heart racing, my mind struggling to comprehend the betrayal that has just unfolded before us. But there's no time to process it. The soldiers are getting closer, and now, we're trapped. The door is the only way out, but Heinrich has just sealed our fate. He led us here to the very place where our lives would end, where we would be sacrificed for some greater plan, one that none of us can understand. I look around at the men, their faces a mixture of fear, disbelief, and rage. They have been betrayed, led into a nightmare that has no escape. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And then, as the door rattles under the force of approaching footsteps, I hear Heinrich's final words. It's over. In that moment, as the darkness closes in around us, I realize there's only one thing left to do. Face whatever is coming, and find a way to survive, even if it means fighting against the very man who once led us. The footsteps grow louder. The soldiers are here. And as the door crashes open, we're not just fighting for our lives anymore. We're fighting for something much darker, our very souls.